Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Good morning, good night. Anything like, I don't know where you guys are around the world. Hopefully, you guys are all well, anyways. We have John Shin over here smiling from ear to ear. I'm not sure why, but we'll get into that a bit later. But yeah, you guys all good, Jason? John, you guys good?
Good, man. Good. Really happy to be here. I mean, good Sunday and then even better Wednesday. I get to sit with two Man United fans and just watch them cry. So it should be a good day for me.
This is what I was expecting. That's why I have a
Yeah.
smile on my face. Because if
No,
we don't
100%.
smile, what are we gonna do? We can't. I ain't sitting here crying. You know
Honestly.
what I mean?
Honestly.
Yeah, it's obviously just like an Arsenal supporter, just to sit on their high horse at the moment and
Yeah.
just look down on us. And we don't actually have any comeback, to be honest. So I guess that's the episode. Cheers, guys. Okay.
Most views, most comments, everything. Yeah. Longest video we've ever shot.
Yeah, no, just like let's just like start with this game that I mean the first half it wasn't too bad from a United point of Manchester United point of view. But yeah, just all like kind of imploded in the second half, if you would put it that way. John, if you can just kick us off on what your thoughts were during that game on Sunday.
Well, I think I think Manchester United fans, this might sound like an excuse to rival fans, but I think most Manchester United fans were pretty straightforward in terms of our expectation going down to the Emirates. We all knew that it was going to be a very difficult game. We knew that it was going to be one of those performances where if we walked away with the draw, we would have been very happy considering the circumstances we were finding ourselves in. And I personally was thinking throughout parts of that first half, especially towards the second half, maybe we could get a result. Maybe we can get a win. I was doing a live stream with my friends, and when Garnacho scored that goal, unfortunately it was offsides, but I was like, I told you so, and I was going crazy. But again, like I said, prior to the match, I thought I would have been extremely happy with walking away with a point, considering the circumstances and the state of affairs at Manchester United. Unfortunately, when it rains, it pours, and it's just gotten worse and worse. But I think we were okay for most parts of that match. I'm going to be completely honest. It wasn't a doom and gloom performance by any stretch of the imagination, which was a very pleasant surprise to me, considering how dog poo-poo we were against Wolves, against Spurs in particular. Oh my days, don't even get me started. And of course, the comeback win against Forest, we looked so sloppy. We looked like we were lacking sharpness. We looked devoid of ideas. We weren't finishing. Every single aspect of those traits that completely encapsulate a team not ready to play in the Premier League, or start rather the season, Manchester United turned that around against a really good side in Arsenal, in my view. And the result is the result. Arsenal took the result and they deserve the win. If you ask me, whatever, the refereeing and all that stuff, I always believe that at the end of the day, the result is a result and you write your own destiny in these kinds of moments. And they took the 3 points, and rightly so. But as much as right now we might be surrounded with all of this dark energy, in terms of that performance itself, I was actually okay.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with so many of the comments that you just brought up now. But one thing that if I'm comparing the current United side to how we ended last season, some things just don't seem like it's supposed to fit, if you can put it that way. We started the season feeling or looking unfit. We looked unprepared. So many of the players, they look off the pace of the game every single game. And last season there was a certain style that everybody was sort of picking up from Erik ten Hag. I'm not really seeing much of that this season. So is that down to Erik ten Hag just trying to get everybody on board, all these new signings in, get everybody playing with Onanas, playing out from the back? What's changed since last season?
Time. Father time waits for nobody, my man. And I'm telling you right now, our midfield is still nowhere near contention for any of the top 6 Premier League challenging. Like, we're not ready for any of that stuff. And look, I'm not trying to write off Casemiro. I'm not trying to write off Christian Eriksen, because they have been phenomenal for us. But if any viewers are watching and you guys happen to be under 25, maybe under 30, whatever it is, I'm telling you right now, post 30, shit switches quickly. You know what I mean? Back in the days, I had a full head of hair. I had everything. My hair looked like Jason. I was like, It was lush. Now every day I go have a wash in my shower, and I look down at the drain. I go, oh my days, what's going on? My back's starting to hurt. I've never had back pain. I used to make fun of all my friends that used to have back pain. I was like, yo, y'all old as hell. Now I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I'm feeling sore. I'm not saying Casemiro and Christian Eriksen are not like fantastic examples of pure athletes, but those are things that affect the game. And it's easy for people to just point fingers and direct blame at one person. But Manchester United have been a problem, an amalgamation of problems at this club for so long with respect to signings. I mean, we were talking, oh my, like, where do I even get started? We were talking about signing players to really support Erik ten Hag's true vision. And I thought we were making headway, but you cannot sign midfielders with an average age. Now our average age, if we start Bruno, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, that's an average age of like 29 point something. That is high. That is very, very high for a midfield. If you want robust energy industry, especially when the Premier League has developed into this high energy, high output, lots of work rate, you can't compete with that kind of midfield. No matter how much Bruno might look like Ji-sung Park in terms of 3 lungs, you only need 5 lungs if you want to compensate for things like that. And it doesn't work. We wanted to sign midfielders. We signed Mason Mount, but we can't just sign Mason Mount. We got to sign more. Obviously, we signed Sofian Amrabat, but we wouldn't have had to wait until deadline day if we sold our players early. But we gambled on the idea of selling these players early to bring in Sofian Amrabat, and we actually paid for that gamble because we couldn't sell the players, right? It's just problems left, right, and center. And then you talk about why we couldn't sell the players. You talk about Harry Maguire. You talk about players like, Jadon Sancho, even if you want to include him in the conversation. A lot of these players on these lopsided, sort of unjustified wages and these massive contracts, all under the stewardship of Ed Woodward. You know what I mean? So now we're going back in time, and like, I don't want to sit here going on for like 20 minutes talking about whose fault it is. But at the end of the day, when you want to run a football club to challenge in one of the most competitive leagues in the world, in what I believe to be the most competitive Premier League season that I'll remember, you need to be sharp. You need to make decisions from top down, good decisions. And Manchester United have not done that, unfortunately. And that pains me to say, but it is true. It is fact. Obviously, Sofian Amrabat coming into the squad now, Mason Mount returning hopefully soon as possible. Maybe things are going to look better. And I truly believe that things are going to look better. But these are the reasons as to why we've been looking poo.
Yeah, no. I once again echoing everything that you're saying, Jason. From an Arsenal supporter point of view, was United's midfield, basically the lack of cohesion in United's midfield, was that quite visible to an Arsenal supporter?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not only this game though. I think we had noted, I think it was maybe the Wolves game first, where it just looked like they were exposing Casemiro, right? He's the single 6 playing, and he's getting overrun by, who was it, Nunes, Cunha, all of these guys that have legs. I mean, John's mentioned it. It's a season that's picked up in the sort of the dynamic nature, right? So everybody's midfield is stacked. They have runners, they have good ball players, and whilst Man United probably have the good ball players part, I think they are getting overrun quite a bit there. There seems to be a bit of dysfunction between that defense and midfield and attack, where City and maybe Arsenal, even Liverpool now to an extent, have that fluidity going. It looks like it's just, it looks like it's a bit dysfunctional. I think first off, like you were saying, I don't think Man United were completely out of it. I think Arsenal might have had the ball in better areas, but it's not like we were completely over, like running you guys through it, right? There were some decent times, but it's also, once you win the ball from us and then you're playing it forward, you have Anthony who's maybe going to stand on the ball for a bit, Rashford who's either just going to run away, try and take on 3, or he's also going to stand on it. And then you have Bruno trying to firstly defend and then sprint all the way up to then be a support. So it's, there's lots of things. And like John said, it's coming down from the top, and it's been coming for a long time. And it's going to get bad. I think last season we had spoken about this new Ten Hag era, and it has to get really bad first, unfortunately. And it's never nice to actually watch this, and it's like it needs to go into the pits and then it needs to come up. Like, I mean, Arsenal, we were there. I used to watch games against Crystal Palace, and we got a guy like Socrates, we have Mustafi playing, we got Sead Kolasinac, we got Al Neni playing up against all these guys who are running past him, and I'm thinking, like, this guy can run like 15Ks easily, but can he get to those quick sprints, which is, I think, where it's maybe being exposed, right? But yeah, it's one of those things. Until you sort out all the rot that comes from the top, it will just keep filtering down, keep seeping into the team. And I think there's a lot of off the field issues that have crept in. I mean, during Fergie's time, you hardly ever hear about any of this, but I think maybe in this day and age where social media is so rife, you have the Sancho thing, you have the Anthony thing, you have the signings that could have been, that should have been, you have the injuries. I think it's tough, man. And then you have Ten Hag who has to field all these questions, and yeah, it's hard. So unfortunately, gents, it's how it's going to be for a decent time.
I'm just going to go back quickly to basically how you said that Arsenal went through a similar approach, and looking where Arsenal is now. I mean, signing players like Declan Rice and Kai Havertz and all these like big name signings. You guys paid a lot of money for it, for them. Somebody like Declan Rice with some immediate impact. Do you see the progress that these players has brought into the club, and how much better they're going to make the team moving forward?
Yeah, obviously looking at Declan Rice, I mean, everybody can talk for hours. I think his ability and all of that was clear. It was very evident when he was at West Ham, right? And he was a big fish in a very small pond, and now comes to a bigger pond, and he's actually holding his own, right? I think it's a testament to his footballing IQ. I think it's a testament to Arteta to be able to incorporating, quickly, efficiently, and for him to understand his role, to understand what it needs to be in that lone six position. I think it's massive. I think jury's still out a bit on Kai Havertz. I think there's definitely a player there. I think he was just in a really toxic relationship, and I think if you've ever been in one of those, it takes a while to get out of that mindset, So maybe you just need some good vibes. Hopefully that can come through. And I'm hoping that we peak at the correct time. I think last season everybody thought we started like a house on fire, right? And we started running the show very early, and then we lost steam, and then we picked up a bit, then we lost even more steam, and then everybody knows, we ended up not finishing where we'd have wanted to. I'm hoping for a peak come February. Arsenal, while old, would really fall out of all of the competitions come February, March, April. I'm hoping that we only pick up form then, really. So these little scrappy games, I'm looking forward. I'm hoping, given more time, given a few more games together, everything starts to gel. Maybe Kai gets his first goals, maybe a few more goals. It's just, I think everybody's trying to compete with Man City. So it's just being consistent. That's literally all it is at this moment in time.
Man, like trying to compete with Man City is it's a different issue all on its own, eh? I mean, you have somebody like Haaland, like he scored a hat-trick this past weekend, and I watched quite a bit of the game, and he didn't look that great, to be honest. But I mean, he makes it count when it's necessary, when the team needs it. John, can you just speak a bit about like what your opinion has been of Man City starting the season? I mean, we know that they lost Kevin De Bruyne, but that hasn't slowed them down one bit.
No, and you might, if you're an opposition fan, you want them to slow down, but that's not going to happen. You've seen it. It is an example. That's credits to Pep Guardiola and what he's been doing with Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan. There was reports about Bernardo Silva, who was potentially thinking about leaving. Kyle Walker was thinking about leaving, but they're all staying. And this team, the way Pep Guardiola structures them, they're already winning these games before they even go on the pitch because of the structural aspect, because of how good they are from a systematic perspective. I'm talking from both on and off the pitch. You're talking about how Erling Haaland wasn't that good. He can have these dead games, but still score 1 or 2 goals. And goals are essentially what wins you games. And that's what your job is. You can have a stinker of a performance on that pitch, doing absolute gobshite nothing, running around, having the ball hit your freaking nose, and then like mistouching the ball, whatever. But if you are on the end of that receiving the ball to receive the ball for a shot, and you put that thing in the back of the net, you've done your job. To what degree varies, but Pep Guardiola doesn't need Erling Haaland running around like a headless chicken. Pep Guardiola needs Erling Haaland to be the final man to receive that final ball and put that shit in the back of the net. And that's exactly what he does. And that's what his role is. And he's a beast at it too. He can push people out of the way, get in positions, beat people in a physical battle, aerial presence, dribble, shoot, everything. Every aspect to his game is great. So Pep Guardiola was never thinking about slowing down. And I don't think Manchester United I don't think Manchester City fans expected them to slow down at all. And, it hurts me to say, but it's the facts. And it's going to be very, very tough to compete with a side that, Jason was talking about, like that kind of consistency is going to be incredibly hard for any competitor to try and match.
Yeah,
I know. Jason, were you going to say something?
No. I mean, echoing everything John's saying there. It's just also it pays to spend quite a bit of money, right? And I think you also kind of see the value of Pep, right? I mean, people say that he's always managed good teams, but I think it's the hardest thing to manage so many different personalities. And you have Erling Haaland, who came from Borussia Dortmund, and he was, an absolute gunslinger, right? And he comes with this big persona. And he comes into this Man City team and he fully understands what his role is. And maybe Pep doesn't like that, because to Erling Haaland, I think one of his interviews early last season, he was saying, if I have to touch the ball twice and I have to score twice, then he's very happy. And I think Pep wants him to be more involved. But I think Pep also appreciates the fact that when De Bruyne is putting in those crosses, Haaland's there. He's not involved in the whole build-up play. He's not involved in occupying. He gets into the areas very quickly and he finishes chances. And I think even if they're not playing bad, they get one chance and they will finish it. And I think that's what all the teams currently lack. I think Man United in particular haven't had a striker of any real quality and caliber since probably Rooney. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting somebody along the way there, but I think Rooney was, if you had to put the ball there, Rooney would finish. If you have to give him 1v1, even a 2v1, he would be able to make something happen. And I think all the teams lack that clinical finisher. And I mean, City, the seasons before, they had Aguero, who was up in the, like he was in a bit, then he was out a bit. They had Jesus. And then they just replace him with somebody who only finishes. And it's like, okay, so they've done really well. And what they've done now, losing Gundogan, they replace him with Kovacic and then Mateus Nunes. They literally, instead of stagnating, they just go into the next level to establish dominance even further. So it's like, it's hard. And I think we always preach about consistency and how winning games matters. They've got that blueprint, they have that mindset, and they are ready to go every season. And I'm waiting for those wheels to come off, but it just seems like it's so far from actually happening. And it's kind of upsetting, but also, we're watching greatness right in front of us. I think this is probably what all the other clubs looked at when it was the Fergie and Wenger era, right? Every season we just go toe to toe, and it's just like complete dominance, and we're seeing it now.
Yeah, no, that the fact that they are able to replace these players with world-class talent. I mean, Riyad Mahrez as well. He left, and then they replaced him with Doku, who is a really good talent. Like I've been reading so many good things about him from people playing in the Premier League, Belgian players, other players that's played with him before, calling him like a really, really good talent. So that's something to be frightened about. But just moving on from Manchester City, we'll go to a club that's owned by an American, Mr. Todd Boehley. So John Shin, your stateside guy, the guy's he's just making it rain, eh?
But Todd Boehley has always, him buying that club, I'm pretty sure he knew the challenge he was going to be accepting. It wasn't going to be an easy walk in the park. And I think what Todd Boehley understands from an American perspective is that sports works very, very differently outside of the States. In the States, it's a franchise, closed league. You can be absolute crap, but also continue to generate heavy TV revenue, have a consistent profit margin because of the fan base and whatever. And you have, drafts and all of these things. I don't want to go too deeply into it, but it's a very different setup. And I think Todd Boehley, as crazy as it sounds, I personally think he's doing a decent job, because what he's doing is at least showing the Chelsea fans and at least showing to the rest of the competition, especially in Europe's Big Five, that They're not here to just roll over and collect revenue that, like, for example, the Glazers are doing. The Glazers, they bought the club on a debt, and they're just like seeping out. They're just, literally leeching away with dividends and things of that nature. Whereas Todd Boehley, obviously, he's still new to the game, so the jury's still out on him. But at least from a starting perspective, he's showing to the Chelsea fans, look, I'm not here to just collect cash. I'm here to spend, and he spent a hell of a lot of money. To what degree of success that's going to bring? I'm being completely honest with you. I'm not a big fan of managers I'm not a big fan of clubs just spending hella money and just dumping 20 new players on a coach and being like, hey, to figure it out, because that's not how it works. But I think it's a start in the right direction. At least if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'd rather see my club spend mad money and get 20 players than struggle for 3 and then sign 2 on deadline day, and it wasn't even the ones you wanted. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even a lesser of 2 evils in my view. I think it's actually a good thing for Chelsea fans to be seeing this thing. With respect to the performance on the pitch, content creators love to bash about how, like, if opposition clubs doing bad, I think Chelsea's going to take time, and Pochettino is going to need time as well. He had a stint in PSG having to deal with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, 3 players that was going to be very hard for him to control and manage and balance with a squad. And now he's with a Chelsea squad where he wants full control. You can clearly tell the way he speaks. He doesn't give a damn who you are anymore. He just wants 110% domination with respect to how he manages the players, how he wants to be respected, and all of those things. And I think it's going to take time. It'd be easy for me to be like, Todd Boehley spending hella money. How you American stupid? Like, I could do that, but I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah. Just going onto the on-pitch performance. I don't think Pochettino is a bad manager. Like, if anything, I think he's one of the better managers in the Premier League. And like you said, you're dropping about 20 new players on this guy, and he's not a magician. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, every manager has their limitations. So it's going to take time for him to get the players to buy in to his philosophy, to his style of play, and like. Last season, it just seemed like Chelsea had no plan. They had no vision. This season, the games that I've watched, they're not playing badly. They really aren't playing bad football. Their style of play, there is understanding between the players. You can see that what they're trying to achieve. I mentioned this a couple of episodes ago, that experience goes a long way in the Premier League, and at the moment Chelsea has a very young squad. You have the odd player like Thiago Silva that has like buckets of experience, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think the average age in the squad is like 23, 24. That's very young. So it's going to take time. Like John said, it's going to take time. Whatever the Pochettino is trying to achieve, it will come to fruition eventually. Chelsea fans just need to sit tight. But I mean, everything is there. Like, I'm a United fan watching a Chelsea game, and I can see what they're trying to achieve. So I don't think it's a bad thing that they're losing to teams. Okay.
Yeah, no, average age from a structural standpoint, I think it can go about it both ways. Nobody started last season thinking that Arsenal was going to do so well the way that they did. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Arsenal's average age last season, their squad was relatively young, very young, I think. Yeah. And it's about the system. It's about how you get it to work. When Gareth Bale left Tottenham back then, it shocked Spurs. They spent money, but it shocked Spurs. Andres Villas-Boas, he quit, and my man said, I'm done with this shit. And he started driving cars in F1. Like, he was done. They brought in Tim Sherwood, and then they brought in Pochettino, where Pochettino had to put together a squad of these random players, figure out who needed to go, figure out who could stay, figure out who actually he needs to bring to make this all gel. And he had a young side then too. So I think Pochettino, with the time that he has, with the squad that he has, with the experience that he has, with the experience that he has and with the squad that he has, it's going to take time, but nobody should just be like, there's no way he's going to be able to compete. I think we should keep a close eye on him.
Yeah, I think if anything, even he has this not blanket season, but he has a season where nobody's really expecting anything. I think last season they had such a poor showing that anything looks infinitely better than what they had shown. And I think it was really quite a harder show off the pitch, right? Because I think they had like 3 different managers, and they also signed a bucket load of guys. And it's like you have these long contracts, the death row records contracts that everybody jokes about. And okay, maybe they've signed more of it. Maybe it's just this loophole that he's figured out. But I mean, yeah, I think we have to give them time. Whether they'll get the same amount of time as maybe somebody coming into like a West Ham role, maybe somebody coming to a smaller club. I think Chelsea have a recent history of being very, very reactionary. So things happen and then suddenly, okay, now we have to fire this guy. We have to get the next best thing. If they give the guy some time, because it's not like they're signing a whole lot of bums, right? They're signing good quality young players who are pushing on international doors and who have competed both in Europe, both domestically from their leagues where they've come. Give them some time to cook. I think it's also different because like John had mentioned, he was managing PSG and you have all these personalities, and that's why I always take my hat off to like Pep and stuff, right? He controls all of the major personalities and they're able to streamline into this system and idea, right? So now he has maybe a few young egos that he can maybe squash before it gets too big. But I definitely think give him some time. And I mean, you have this owner who, if I ask him for something, he's not prepared to say no. He's actually willing to say, okay, let's get them on a 15-year contract and I'll splash the cash so you can have who you want. And that's actually 2 very good things to have going hand in hand. I think it's going to be interesting. I think they have a few decent fixtures coming up where they could possibly pick up some good points, but also a few testing games where we'll see what this young team has about it.
But what I will say though, for Chelsea fans, I think that if there's one real area of concern is that they're going to have to really change how they view their football club. Chelsea have been notorious. Jason, you mentioned the word reactionary. That a lot of that had to do with the way Abramovich ran his club. He was ruthless. He was cutthroat. If you didn't like it, if you didn't perform, you were gone. And that might be difficult to sort of establish. But for Abramovich, it worked because that's what Chelsea was known for. They do it for a while. Yeah. It almost kind of gave me this Hessian vibe, this mercenary energy of like, they come in, do the job, and they go, right? And if they can't keep up to like the highest of standards, whatever. Whether you think that's right or wrong for a football club, that really, I think that's a difference in opinion. I think Chelsea fans liked that in certain ways. The idea of like, give this guy time. I think it's not really all that there in Chelsea. But from an identity perspective, that's going to change. And I think Chelsea fans, if there is any concern, like I mentioned, it is going to be this, are we going to give it, or do we have to wait 5 years? Do we have to wait 4 years? You know what I mean? And I think that might be the difference maker in terms of how Chelsea's future goes from a projection standpoint. But look, now you're in line. Now now we're kind of all in equal footing here. You're not going to have Todd Boehley just going to sack everybody left, right, and center. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a different energy.
Yeah, no. On that note, I think we can start wrapping it up because we know, John, you have to be exiting soon. But before you go, I see that KFC bucket in the back on your wall. Is there a story over there?
Absolutely.
Is there still chicken in there? That's the thing.
No, that thing was cleaned out as soon as I got it, my man. It took me 5 minutes. I get asked this question quite often. I have a lot of other things in the background that I'd love to discuss, but the first question that always comes up is actually the KFC bucket. And it's right, it's just like everything else is football or cool. And then all of a sudden you just see the Colonel's face. You're like, what the hell is that? For me, KFC is important because I grew up here in America as an immigrant, and growing up, it was always very difficult for my family from all aspects, trying to, get adjusted to a new country, a new culture, learn the language, and everything was so difficult. And I wouldn't say we were very, 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 very poor, but we weren't even, I'd say we were probably just teetering on the high end of the low class, if you will, from a societal, structural standpoint of sorts. And we never went out to eat. My family never went out to eat. I think the only times we went out to eat was whenever I graduated or when my brother graduated from high school or junior high school. And there was just that one time we go out to eat like noodles or something. And KFC was that one guilty pleasure where my pops once in a while would bring it home. And my grandpa and I are massive fans of fried chicken. And my grandfather and I us two would just sit there. We'd look like animals, just like chickens would fear us. Like we would just shred that. We would destroy it. And, My grandfather and I just have very fond memories of eating KFC together, and it's always forever in my heart because it always used to bring me that beautiful feeling of joy when my dad used to come through that door and I see him with a bag of KFC and coleslaw and biscuits, and we just destroy it. So it's there.
Nah,
that's
that's
love,
such
man.
a
That's
cool
love.
story, man, dude. Amazing. But yeah, on that note, we will see you off, John. Where can the guys find you?
You guys can find me across all social platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Good Vibes John. I'm trying to reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers. I've been doing YouTube for quite a long time now, but I've never really seriously taken, passion, like an actual serious passion towards it. And for me, last season that changed. I'm trying to actually set goals, and I've actually since the start of last summer, I set a goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers. I have more numbers in other platforms, but for me, YouTube has always been a place where I just kind of wanted to make sure that I at least reached my goal. So if you guys can help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers, I'm just under 1,000 short. If you guys can help me get there, that'd be great.
Sure.
Amazing. We'll definitely put your details in the description below. Jason, where can the guys find you?
So on X you can probably find me at Jason_Ronnie. I tweet a lot of nonsense. So that's what's up. I am on TikTok. I don't post quite a bit. But I'm on there as well. I think we can probably find the Sporticos TikTok account there, posting loads of memes and the occasional clip. That's about it for me.
Amazing. I am at AF Parker 642 on all social media, I think. Standardize it. And then don't forget to follow us at Sporticos on Twitter, X, sorry, apologies, Elon Musk. At Sporticos on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, everywhere. Give us a like, give us a follow, tell your mom, tell your friends, tell everybody. There is a subscribe button at the bottom. Please hit that as well. You can hit the logo in the bottom left corner of the screen as well. But yeah, thanks, Jason. Thanks, John, for taking time out from your lunch break to grace us with your presence.
Thanks
Great
for that.
as always.